All right, picture this. Man, I want you to really imagine sitting across from someone in the cage who has this aura, this presence. Like you just know he's a different breed. And you're thinking, what does it take to get here? How does someone rise to this level where every fight, every movement, every knockout becomes part of a story that the whole world is watching? Because this isn't just about throwing punches or winning belts. It's about mindset, discipline, and that relentless drive that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. And right now, I want you to strap in and pay attention because what we're about to break down isn't just highlights or stats. It's a journey of dominance, fearlessness, and global influence. And by the time we're done, you're going to see why everyone is talking about this fighter right now, why his story resonates far beyond the cage, and why the lessons in his rise can hit anyone watching, whether you're in sports, business, or just trying to puss. H yourself to the next level, so stay with me because this is one of those stories that grabs you, doesn't let go, and teaches you something about what it really means to be unstoppable. And once you see the full picture, you're going to understand why the conversation around him isn't fading anytime soon.
Man, it's crazy when you really sit down and look at the way this guy came up because it wasn't.
Like some slow grind where he had to spend 10 years working his way through undercards. It was like he just walked in and said, I belong here. And then went out and proved it every single time. And the wild part is he wasn't even supposed to be here this quick. He was a kickboxer, a destroyer in that world. And most of the time when those guys try to transition to MMA, it doesn't work out. The grappling catches them, the wrestling exposes them, and they fade out. But this dude flipped the script. He took all that precision striking, that sniper-like timing, and carried it into a whole different battlefield like it was nothing. And you could see right away he wasn't just another striker. He had that aura, that presence where you felt like at any second he could shut the lights out. And the UFC fast-tracked him for a reason, man. They knew he wasn't normal. They knew he was dangerous. And he went through killers in a way that made people stop and pay attention because every time he walked in there, it felt like an event, not just a fight. It felt like you were watching history happen in real time. And you could tell the other fighters knew it too. There's a different kind of respect in their body language, in the way they approach him, like they're standing across from something inevitable. And that's why this rise feels unstoppable, because it's not just about the wins. It's about the energy. It's about the way he commands the cage, the way he makes everyone else look smaller, slower, more hesitant, like he's already playing at a level above them. And that's the kind of dominance that bleeds over into legacy territory. Because when you start stacking that kind of presence with actual gold around your waist, when you're holding belts in different weight classes and proving you're not just a moment, but a movement, that's when you start to realize we're looking at one of those rare forces in combat sports that doesn't come along often. And the scariest part is he's still calm, still collected, almost cold in the way he dismantles people, like the pressure doesn't even exist. And that's why the conversation naturally shifts from just being about his rise to what that rise means, how it cements him among the absolute elite, the kind of fighters who cross divisions and rewrite the history books without ever seeming to break a sweat. And then you start thinking about what it really means when a guy doesn't just dominate in one division, but actually goes up, carries that same destructive power with him, and takes another crown like it's just another day at the office. Because, man, being a double champ isn't some marketing gimmick. It's one of the hardest things in combat sports. You are literally fighting bigger bodies, different styles, and you're doing it without losing a step. And the craziest part is he makes it look inevitable, like the belts were already his before the fight even started. And that's the kind of thing that separates legends from just champions, because winning one title is already almost impossible. The road is brutal, the contenders are hungry, but going into a second division and planting your flag there, that's an entirely different level of greatness. And what makes it even more insane is the way he carries himself after. There's no chest beating, no over-the-top celebration. It's almost like he expected, like he already saw it play out in his mind 100 times. And when you get a guy like that who's not only beating the best, but doing it across weight classes with that calm, cold energy, it starts to how people view him. It's not just about fights anymore. It's about legacy. It's about putting your name in that tiny group of fighters who've done the impossible. And when you watch him, you realize this isn't luck. This isn't timing. This is skill, discipline, and a level of composure that doesn't crack no matter what you throw at him. And the double champ thing adds a whole different layer to the way opponents look at him too, because when you're carrying 2 belts, you're not just a champion, you're a problem for everybody. There's no safe division, no escape route. It's like you've proven you can walk into new territory and still conquer, and that's why his aura feels heavier now. The respect is different, even the fear is different, because people know they're dealing with a guy who has tested himself in more than one weight class and still came out on top. And that's where the conversation gets even scarier, because once you've established that kind of dominance across divis, ions, the question isn't whether you can keep winning, it's how devastatingly you're going to do it. How many bodies are going to fall before someone can even figure out the puzzle? And that's when you start to notice how his knockouts aren't just highlights, they're warnings, proof of that power that carries with him wherever he goes, which bleeds right into why there's this aura of fear around him every single time he steps into that cage. What really blows your mind is the way that knockout power translates, because it's not just about hitting hard. There are a lot of guys who hit hard, but this is different. This is precision combined with timing and this weird, almost supernatural calmness. Like he's not even rushing, he's not chasing the finish. He's just waiting, watching, and then the second you make a mistake, it's over. Lights out, no second chances, and that's the kind of thing that builds an aura, man, because once you start stacking highlight reel knockouts, once you start starching guys that nobody thought could be stopped, it plants something in the back of every opponent's head. They walk into that cage already thinking about it, already picturing that left hook or that straight shot landing clean, and that changes the whole psychology of a fight. It makes people hesitate, slows them down, and makes them tentative. And when you hesitate against a guy like this, you're done, because he doesn't need much, just a fraction of a second, and the fight flips. And it's wild because you see that same reaction from the crowd too, that collective gasp every time he twitches, every time he feints, because everyone knows the danger is there all the time. And that's what separates him from regular knockout artists. He doesn't need to throw wild bombs. He just touches you at the perfect moment and your system shuts off. And that aura of fear follows him everywhere now. You can feel it in the weigh-ins and the stare-downs, even before the cage door closes. That praise NCE that makes everyone tense, like they're in the room with something predatory. And that aura, man, that's almost more powerful than the knockout itself, because it beats half the guys before the fight even starts. They fight scared, they fight not to lose. And when you do that against someone this precise, you're giving him exactly what he wants. You're walking right into his trap. And the crazy part is he stays ice cold through all of it, like he's immune to the chaos. And that unshakable mindset is what really completes the picture, because when you combine that kind of power with a brain that never seems to rattle, never seems to doubt, you're not just looking at a knockout artist, you're looking at a warrior who embodies this stoic, almost ancient calm. And that's why people aren't just talking about his knockouts. They're talking about the way he carries himself, the way his composure turns him into this terrifying figure that feels less like an athlete and more like some kind of modern-day gladiator whose mind can't be broken no matter what storm you throw at him. And the part that really separates him from almost everybody else is that mindset, because it's one thing to be powerful, it's another thing to be technical. But when you mix that with a mind that doesn't flinch, doesn't crumble under pressure, that's when you start talking about a whole different animal. And with him, you can see it in every second he's in there. There's no panic when he gets hit, no rush when the fight gets wild. He stays locked in like he's meditating in the middle of chaos. And that's such a rare quality in fighting, because most guys, even the great ones, you'll catch moments where the adrenaline takes over, where the emotions get the better of them, but he never seems to give that away. He walks forward like he already knows the outcome, like all the noise, the lights, the crowd, even the danger right in front of him. It doesn't touch that inner calm, and that's intimidating. On a level you can't even measure with stats, because when a guy looks unshakable, when you can't see doubt in his eyes, you start to feel it yourself. You start questioning your own belief, and that's half the fight right there. And it makes sense when you think about where he comes from, the battles he's been through outside the cage, the discipline he's built over years of grinding. It's all shaped this warrior-like mentality where fear just doesn't have a place, and it reflects in his body language, in the way he reacts to big moments like winning titles or knocking out legends. performance, it's never wild celebration. It's a nod, a calm acceptance, like he knew it was supposed to happen. And that stoicism, man, that's what makes him look like he belongs to a different era. Like some samurai figure dropped into modern MMA, and people pick up on that. Fans pick up on it. Opponents definitely pick up on it. And it adds to the mystique, because when you combine that with his knockout power, it makes him feel untouchable. And that's why the conversation about him isn't just about fighting anymore. It's about influence. It's about how his presence transcends the cage, how his story reaches people around the world who see him as more than just a champion. They see him as a symbol of resilience, of discipline, of what it looks like when you were completely aligned in body and mind. And that's where his cultural and global impact starts to come in, because it's bigger than the UFC. It's about what he represents to millions watching him rise. And what really blows my mind is how his presence isn't just confined to the cage, it's everywhere. Like you see it ripple across the globe in a way that transcends fighting, because he's become more than a fighter. He's become this symbol, this representation of what it means to be disciplined, fearless, and relentless. And you can see it in how fans react from Brazil to the US to Europe and Asia. People are watching his every move, analyzing. Every knockout, every stare down, every little detail of his training, because it's aspirational. It's like, if he can do it, maybe there's a piece of that mindset or that power that you can try to carry into your own life. And it's wild how social media amplifies that, because highlights go viral instantly, clips of brutal finishes, calm composure, and people are dissecting it, talking about it, arguing about it, comparing him to legends of the past, and it turns him into this almost mythic figure, like stories are being told around the world about him in real time. And that's not something you can manufacture. That's earned by dominance, precision, and this insane combination of skill and personality. And it influences the next generation too, young fighters studying him, trying to emulate his timing, his striking, his mental fortitude, because when someone performs at that level, it sets a benchmark that everyone measures themselves against. And it also shifts the conversation in It makes promoters, commentators, and fans rethink who can rise and how quickly, because you see someone moving between divisions, knocking out champions, staying calm under pressure, and it forces you to appreciate the mental game as much as the physical, and the cultural impact goes even deeper when you realize it inspires people outside fighting too, people who have no interest in MMA, but see a story of someone climbing to the top against all odds, dominating a sport with precision, focus, and discipline, and it resonates, it's motivational, it's aspirational, and it becomes part of the global conversation, part of sports culture, because now he's a reference point, a standard, a name that comes up in podcasts, interviews, YouTube videos, debates, everywhere. And that's the ultimate power, right? When your influence reaches beyond your immediate arena, when it changes how people think, how they train, how they view their own potential. And that's why everyone is talking about right now, because it's not just wins or belts, it's the story, the aura, the unstoppable rise, the double championships, the knockout power, the mindset, all of it coalescing into a figure who embodies global influence and a level of respect and fear that's unmatched. All right, so when you really step back and look at the full picture, it's insane to see how all these pieces come together. The unstoppable rise, the double championships, the knockout power, the unshakable mindset, and the global impact. It's like watching a perfect storm in action, and it's not just about the fights or the belts. It's about what it represents, a level of focus, discipline, and courage that most of us can only aspire to. And that's the part that hits you when you think about it, because it's inspiring in a way that goes beyond sport. It's a reminder that if you commit fully to something, if you stay calm under pressure, if you keep your mind aligned with your goals, you can create a legacy that people remember long after the lights go out. And that's why this conversation is important, because it's not just entertainment, it's a lesson, a story of resilience and mastery that resonates. And I hope that anyone listening right now takes a little piece of that energy into their own life, whether it's in sports, in work, or just in facing challenges that seem impossible. Because at the end of the day, it's all about pushing limits and seeing what you're truly capable of. And I want to leave you with this. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this journey. And good luck in whatever you were chasing, whether it's in the cage, in your career, or just in being the best version of yourself, because that's what it's really all about. And keep pushing. Stay focused, stay disciplined, and remember that legends aren't born. They're made through relentless work, mental toughness, and the courage to step into the fire and keep walking forward no matter what.